The Columbia River. From the Rocky Mountains comes a roaring major river, stretching 12,043 miles and covering 258,000 square feet. It spans over 7 U.S. states and 1 Canadian province, providing a myriad of sustenance wherever it flows. The river tends to the ecosystem and wildlife, provides water to over 600,000 acres of farmland, and gives drinking water to numerous communities. It is also the coolant for the most major data centers in the US. Since the early 2010s, data centers have been popping up all over the US, taking a likely home especially to the southwest and west part of the country. Large, hulking infrastructure centering internet, cloud computing, and AI are mostly found in smaller, rural cities and towns, as they make for easy expansion. Employment from the data centers gives lower-income residents fantastic financial opportunities and boosts up the town's overall economy as well. While these data centers have what may seem like many benefits and growing opportunities, there are many underlying concerns and dangers that come with it, and some of them lie just below the surface. Data centers use lots of water, lots of it. Mainly, data centers use water for cooling down heated rooms where servers are hosted. These servers use highly concentrated amounts of power to keep their servers up and running 24/7, which comes directly from the state. Over 12% of U.S. energy consumption goes to these data centers alone, and in Oregon, 11.4% of the state's total power goes to data centers. Naturally, with all that power comes extreme heat, and a data center's worst enemy is heat, as it can lead to the slowing and even destruction of the servers. To cool them down, the servers are separated into cool and hot aisles, where one draws in cool air and the other expels exhaust air. However, most times, air is not enough to cool these superheated computers, and that's when water is needed. Water usually is placed through evaporative cooling towers, then through the evaporation process is used to cool the air. To fill these towers, millions of gallons of water are pumped per day. This water is pumped from freshwater sources, like rivers, due to large quantities being readily available. In 2024, over 21.2 billion liters of water was used to fill cooling towers, and with the emergence of AI, the amount increased. In 2023, the number increased to 66 billion liters of water. Even day-by-day usage can go up to 5 million gallons per day, which is the equivalent of drinking water for a town population of 10,000 to 50,000. Of course, this much power and water usage leads up to its own concerns, questions, and outcomes, and many of those concerns are already affecting people in everyday life. In towns like Boardman in Morrow County, Oregon, more data centers have popped up, some of which include Amazon Web Services, hosting just some of Amazon's online servers. A prominent spot for these data centers, as Boardman is located just along the Columbia River, which allows for near continuous pool of water for cooling. However, just beyond the warehouses, complaints of water contamination have spread all over the town and surrounding areas. Dangerous amounts of nitrate have been found within the groundwater that supplies the drinking water of the area's residents. Nitrate is a dangerous and extremely harmful chemical, causing health concerns like thyroid issues and birth defects. The contaminant usually finds its way into groundwater through agricultural runoff, but due to the extensive amounts of water needed to cool these data centers, wastewater collects overflow, allowing more and more pollutants to enter potable drinking water. During a 2024 lawsuit between Morrow County and Amazon, among several unnamed other defendants, the Oregon Health Authority found that some of the wells housing drinking water contained more than 10 times the amount of federally accepted nitrate. Out of 634 wells in total, 420 were found unsafe to drink from as well. It was found that since the beginning of Amazon Web Services in Morrow County, ports had been allowing wastewater to overflow for years, letting unacceptable levels of nitrate enter groundwater and well water. Many of the residents felt the after effects severely. One such resident named Guadalupe Martinez in Boardman says a reverse osmosis filter installed under the sink that's meant to reduce the nitrate in her water doesn't work properly, and the whole house's water filter had been broken for years, leaving her and her family to rely on bottled water. While the intent of the lawsuit was to establish better systems to avoid health risks for residents, the lawsuit ended up stale. Amazon denied the claims, but since the overwhelming evidence couldn't be deterred, Amazon paid $20.5 million in settlement money to the northeast portion of Oregon and to its residents affected by the nitrate pollution, with the exchange that there would be no guilt or blame after the lawsuit. In the end, Amazon faced almost no repercussions and have had, in fact, made a $8 billion agreement to the state to build more centers in Boardman. While the drinking water is one of the more huge and current outcomes of water usage and data cooling, the amount being taken is just another growing problem, and one that might have the most severe consequences as time passes. Besides other environmental concerns, such as the carbon emissions these centers expel, there is a great concern over the exact quantity and speed in which the water is being taken. As I stated earlier, these data centers consume on average up to 5 million gallons of fresh water per day. That water is being directly taken from the river and from groundwater too. That in itself is way too much water to be taken, and with little to no time for it to recharge. On average, Oregon receives up to 80 inches of rain annually as a state. In Boardman and other towns along the river that host data centers, the rain count roughly 12 inches annually due to the rain shadow effect on the Cascade Range. These towns, and Boardman specifically, face little recharge levels annually. On a stateside level, the rain amount is nowhere near enough to recharge water sources enough for adequate levels for residents or businesses alike. These centers worsen water take, and there is barely enough to go around. So what can be done to stop these practices? What methods can be utilized to lower water usage and cooling and stop pollutants from entering drinking water? Well, there are a few. Closed-loop cooling towers is a water and labor-efficient alternative to traditional water cooling towers. It uses a sealed coil to separate fluid from outside air and sprays it back in for cooling. It also prevents contamination and is the most suitable for energy conservation, as it has modes to work in even harsher conditions. Another method would be immersion cooling, where servers and IT components are submerged in a non-conductive liquid to manage heat. This process allows higher-level computers to work faster and is not only efficient in power but also in water usage as well, as no evaporative cooling is needed, leading to less pollution. There are multiple ways to conserve water and limit pollution in these data centers. So why aren't they being utilized more often? The answer lies within the states themselves. Morrow County earlier this year hosted a town meeting on some safety procedures to do going forward on the water pollution. However, their biggest downsides to all the plans told was what would that look like for the town in terms of economics. And it's the same for the rest of Oregon as well. Towns and cities know what they must do to fix these issues, but Oregon lawmakers and policymakers believe it to be a necessary sacrifice economically. Many small towns expanding beyond Oregon have reported increased economy, job opportunities, and cheaper power. These benefits are far more attractive to leadership, and sadly, environmental concerns seem to be on the back burner. Cheap water cooling towers allow for faster expansion and economic growth in the West, while expensive, more advanced technologies do not. The world is rapidly expanding in terms of technology, and if people don't do what must be done, it will backfire tremendously. The only real solution to solve any of these issues is to continue to advocate and bring awareness. It's increasingly obvious leadership and companies value commerce more than anything else. So it is up to the people to continue to bring awareness to these issues. Communities all over the West are fighting back against these entities, such as the lawsuit we talked about previously in Morrow County, Oregon. People won't give up, and as long as we fight back over and over, there is still a chance what must be done will be.